Hi guys, Penny Rose Journals, how you doing? Okay, as promised, the tea bags and what I am doing with them. These are the tea bags I buy. They are just a store brand, or worse if you happen to be in Australia. And I am going to use them to do some batch dyeing. Yeah, this container in front of me is full of rusty old pieces of iron. And I am going to take some beautiful, lovely, pristine and gorgeous papers and make them horrible and old and gross and very dark. I have a project that I have in mind and I want some batch dye for it. So these are the tea bags. As you can see, they are two tea bags joined together. So they just need tearing apart. There is no string or anything, they are just the bag. And here are my rusty bits. They are nasty and rusty, so they do the job well. So what I am going to do is grab some fabric, because I also throw fabric through my batch dye. Sometimes I put it in between the papers for a bit of extra texture, but I always wrap my papers in fabric. It keeps them sort of slightly protected from the boiling water that I'm going to put them in. Because when I batch dye, I shove all my paper bundles into a huge pot on my stove and boil the living daylights out of it. I boil it, well, for quite a while. A couple of hours usually, and maybe not on a full boil, a bit of a simmer, but yeah, it's definitely hot, very hot, and it goes on for quite some time. So it's a full day process as far as I'm concerned. So I find whatever fabric I can. I usually try for natural fabrics because they dye better than synthetic fabrics. Mostly it's all pieces of old clothing that have been unpicked and are just sitting around waiting to be grunged up. And yeah, I have these bags. Aren't they cool? Last year at Christmas time, our Woolworths, the place I get my tea bags from, they actually printed a Christmas sort of print on their bags instead of their big ugly green logo. The idea was you cut your bags apart and use them for wrapping paper. So I think that's very cool. I applaud them for their recycling sort of bent there. That was a good idea. I hope they do it again this year. But anyway, I kept a few of those bags and I am going to grunge them up now. So yeah, that's where this all started. So there's a couple of bits iron gone in there and some tea bags now. And I am just going to keep on layering this up with various papers and various textures, bits of fabric if I fancy. But yeah, it's amazing what you can actually treat as badly as this and have it survive. I actually put some tissue paper in this that was packaging tissue paper. I wasn't sure that was going to survive. It did fine. I always do paper doilies. They end up a bit raggy sometimes, but they do fine as well. So I think wrapping the bundles in fabric definitely helps. It's just something that's a bit sturdier because, when you tie them up, once they get wet, they sort of start to try and unfold themselves and just tear if they don't have the fabric around them. So yeah, the fabric's a good idea. You may notice as I go along that I put different sized papers on top of each other and also put them at different angles to each other if I can, rather than just stacking them all straight on top of each other. This actually does make a difference. You can see the outline of the smaller pieces of paper on the larger ones once everything's dry. It's something that just adds that little bit of extra dimension to your pages. You'll notice some coloured papers going in here. There's the yellow envelopes that I have a lot of. And there's also some green papers going into this particular one. These coloured papers, I know the yellow envelopes will run. They will stain things that are near them. Yeah, a bit of colour comes through here and there. It's interesting. I like it. The coloured paper, the green paper, I don't know. I've not used it before. We'll see what happens, but I'm always up for something interesting to happen. So I actually hope it runs. So that's why I include it. Well, one, I like to have coloured papers that are batch dyed anyway, but I like to include interesting coloured papers because I like to see what they do. So yeah, anyway, it's time to wrap this up. I'm going to wrap it fairly tightly. It's got to fit in my pot, and luckily my pot is very, very large, so it's not too much of a drama. But yeah, I'm going to wrap it quite tightly. I will tie it with a couple of strips of just fabric that I have that could use some grunging up because it's very, very bright and cheerful. I like to put the strips of fabric around it to tie it. Well, one, because it keeps it secure, but two, it gives me something to grab a hold of to lift it out of the water bath when I'm trying to move it around. So yeah, a lot of the time I like to sort of get in there while my water bath isn't completely cooled down, and yeah, I need something easy to grab a hold of that I'm not going to burn myself too much handling. So yeah, I'll wrap a couple of these strips around, just tie them in simple bows so they're easy to get undone even after they've been boiled for a few hours. And yeah, we'll start making a few more. And once we've got a bundle, I'll go downstairs and put them on to boil. Now, I'm not going to video that section, but I will take a bunch of photographs and add them to this video so you can see what I am doing and yeah, the process as it goes. I'll take a photo, basically when I put it in the pot, and then as the water gets darker and darker and darker, because by the time it's boiled for a couple of hours, it's pretty much black. So yeah. Anyway, let's get a few more bundles made. Okay, that's enough bundle making for now. You know what I'm all about. I will make one more. I'll take this lot down to my pot and then realise I could fit one more in. So I do make one more and put in, but yeah, not important. So let's go down and check out the pot and yeah, you can see where the process all takes place. Okay, here is the pot in all its glory. As you can see, it's rather gross. This is its only purpose in life, so I don't use it for anything else. I put all of the bundles in there dry and then fill it full of water and some vinegar. And then just put it on to boil. And as you can see, it gets darker and progressively darker and progressively darker as the day goes on. So once I've decided it's boiled enough, I will turn it off and then just let it sit until it cools down. Usually not cold, but cool. And then I'll take the bundles out and let them drain overnight. And once they've drained overnight, I will take them to the yard and start laying them out and letting them dry. The weather is good at the moment, and this is why I'm doing it. So here's one of the bundles before I unwrap it. That is the green one. Doesn't look so green anymore. And the papers are definitely not beautiful and pristine as they were. So here's a sort of a preview of what they look like before they're dry. This is very hard to handle when it's like this. You have to be very, very patient and very, very delicate when you are pulling the papers apart, else you end up with lots of torn paper, which, hey, I don't mind so much. But anyway, let's get to looking at what it turned out like. Now, I did 2 bundles, or 2 batches. This one was my second batch, this pile of fabric here, and the other one is my first batch. Yeah, I just took the papers out of the water and let them drain, poured whatever water drained out of them back into the pot and put in another batch. So, yeah, you can just keep on reusing that water for as long as you choose to. I mean, I guess it would only last a couple of days. That water, by the way, was probably about 30 litres of water. There were 3 buckets of water in there and probably a good litre or 2 of vinegar. Yeah, I just like to put vinegar in my water bath. I don't know whether it does anything specific, I just do. I'm sure there's some science behind it. It's just how I learned to do it, and it's what I do. So I don't need to know the science, I just need to get the result. So yeah, anyway, this is my fabric. If you remember what it was like when we started, it was bright and cheerful, and now not so much. I did just show you some of those strips in comparison. They were just leftovers, and yeah, the colours have definitely changed. And I do have some pieces of the same fabrics next to me here, so I can show you some of the fabrics before we dyed them, so you can get an idea of sort of how they grunge up. But obviously I don't have all of them, but I have some, so I'll show you the comparisons as I go through, and once we've had a look at all the fabrics, we will move on to the papers. So yeah, definite colour differences. Oh, by the way, I have washed these fabrics. This is not obviously how they came out of the bath. They didn't really lose a lot of the colour that they picked up in the bath. I just like to wash them because, well, they smell like vinegar and, you know, they're a bit grotty. So I throw them in the washing machine, throw them in the dryer, and then give them a quick iron. Nothing too crazy, but those strips where they're tied in bows get really wrinkled up, so I like to give them a quick iron just so that they're usable. You know, when I get them out of the dryer, they're just screwed up in a pile. So yeah, we do that, and yeah, then I'll just store them away, use them for whatever project they suit. But yeah, I did pop some lace in some of them, and you will see some of this lace print on some of the papers, which was kind of cool. Another thing about the fabrics is sometimes they run. Again, like the papers, I don't know quite what they're going to do because, well, they're basically mainly secondhand clothing, bits and pieces of. So, yeah, anything could happen, and often does. So that's all part of the fun. Some of these fabrics are branded fabrics as well, that I really have no interest in. This is an old shirt, by the way. That's the colour it was before we batch dyed it, so yeah, makes a big difference. Yeah, some of these branded fabrics I really have no interest in. There's, I think, some Spider-Man there and some Hello Kitty. Not something I would generally use, but this side of it, oh, I love that so much. So good chance these pieces of fabrics will be used upside down in whatever project they get used in, because, yeah, look at that. How yummy is that? All right, that was our fabric entree. Let's get into the papers. I love them. Look at these. So grungy, so good. So yeah, there is all sorts of things going on here. There is colour transfer, there is tea dye, there is rust staining. It's just so good. I understand that this is not a lot of people's cup of tea, and some of it is very dark, and a lot of people would consider a lot of this unusable and nasty, to be honest. But I am so in love with it. And you can see some of those papers, those green papers, the green just ran on everything. This is some of the paper doily sort of marks on some of the paper. That is one of those green pages, before and after. Isn't that crazy? It's just so yummy. And it was so boring before. It's so green. So look at it. I'm just in love. You can see on this page some of the marks from the lace that I had in between the papers. So yeah, it's pretty awesome. That was a blue piece of paper, by the way. I just threw that piece on top so that you could see the colour change. So it's a bit mental, isn't it? This was the tissue paper, by the way. Like I say, it was packaging tissue, so maybe it's a little stronger than regular tissue. I don't know, but yeah, it survived the batch dye really, really well. So yeah, I'm super pleased to have a bunch of super grungy tissue paper. And the paper doilies, and didn't they turn out lovely? Yeah, really, really grungy, lots of colour transfer, some text transfer from old office papers. Yeah, they just have everything, and yeah, they turned out very, very nicely. And you wouldn't even recognise these as the same yellow envelopes. Yeah, totally different from what we started with. So between these and the paper bags, that's pretty much it now. That was our batch die. I hope you enjoyed seeing it. I love doing this. You never know what you're going to get, and I really, really enjoy that sort of anticipation of waiting for my dry papers at the end. So if you really like the grunge, I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but if you really, really like the grunge, I really encourage you to give this a go. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, just get out there and make a mess. Have a good time. Thanks for hanging out with me today, guys. I appreciate your company as always, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Bye.